Hey everybody, welcome to Miscellaneous Monday. Today we are introducing a brand new segment, which is Ms.Murray Reviews, where I'm going to be watching a new-ish movie, maybe an old movie, who knows, and then review it. But as you can see, I'm not alone. I'm going to have a partner in crime when it comes to reviewing some movies every couple weeks, and that person is my dad. So that's him right over there. And he's been my movie buddy for as long as I can be living. So it seemed perfect for us to do this together, right?
Right.
Right. Okay.
Right.
So the movie that we're going to be talking about today is Soul, which is the newest Disney Pixar movie that came out, I think Christmas last year. Let's go ahead and read a quick summary of that for all of you that may have forgotten what it was about. Joe Gardner is a middle school teacher with a love for jazz music. After a successful gig at the Half Note Club, he suddenly gets into an accident that separates his soul from his body and is transported to the youth seminar, a center in which souls develop and gain passions before being transported to a newborn child. Joe must enlist help from the other souls in training, like 22, a soul who has spent eons in the youth seminar, in order to get back to Earth. Okay. Does that sound about right for what we watched?
That sounds about right.
Yeah. So I guess just initial thoughts. What was your first thought of the movie? What did you like? What did you like about it? I liked that the main character was a middle school teacher.
Well, yeah, that was pretty cool, and that he actually sort of seemed like he wasn't really into it because there was just so much other stuff on his mind, and as you work through it, you figure out exactly why that isn't what's on his mind. But eventually you do find out, what his real passion is, or what he thinks his real passion is.
Right. It does take him a little bit to get there.
It takes him a little bit to get there, but once he does get there, you realize why he's just kind of going through the motions as a teacher, as a middle school teacher, and as a band teacher. But you can kind of see that he really has a love for music, even in the beginning.
Right. And you can tell, like, that's one thing that they showed at the beginning, was that he got that love of music through his dad. And even when the movie begins, the movie begins with him teaching a band class, and the kids just sound awful, as all new band children probably do. And then there's that one student that just
there's that one, yeah, and that one is where you can actually see that is where he kind of gets his, I'm going to use the word spark, from being a teacher.
Right. And she's also the one he tutors later on. Did you notice that?
Yeah, it is.
Tutors her.
Yeah, because she actually absolutely hates it, or thinks she hates it, I think.
Yeah, well, I think most kids can agree that they hate the one thing because everybody probably thinks that they're weird because they like something. And so they decide they suddenly don't like it anymore. Just like, I think her name's Connie, what she decides. But that's spoiler territory, so we'll put a pin in that one, and we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
But I really liked, Pixar does a really good job with sort of taking characters out of the real world and putting them into these fantasy worlds, because we both love Inside Out. Like, I know both of us love Inside Out. Here's proof of that. So we really like Inside Out. That was probably one of right? You say that's one of our favorite Pixar movies.
I would say, yeah.
I mean, Up is clearly the best, but Inside Out's really good. It's hard to pick a favorite Pixar movie because there's so many good ones. But this one was really, because this one does the same type of thing. It takes a concept and it turns it into sort of reality. Like, I love the whole idea that there's a place in the great beyond where people get their personalities in a way before they're sent down to Earth. I really like that whole aspect. Did you like that whole aspect?
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Yeah.
And then I thought it was funny, the part where he's, okay, we're going to spoiler territory now. So, spoilers. I'll give you 2 seconds to go away and then come back. Okay. So, with So the part where he becomes a mentor, where they think he's a lost mentor, and
Yeah.
he goes into the auditorium and they're sort of assigning souls to them. How like the first one that's assigned is soul number a zillion or whatever, and then all of a sudden he gets stuck with soul 22, and that's sort of where you get this idea that, oh, this soul's been here for a while. This one hasn't gone to where it's supposed to go. And what did you think of that character? What did you think of 22?
That she was a little lost, that she wasn't sure what she wanted. And even though she had tried everything, she still didn't feel like anything was meant for her.
Well, I think it's because of what the movie does is nothing seemed to fit because none of it was actually real.
Right. She was able to experience real and then realize that, hey, real is what I need, not something that's not real.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's exactly it, because like she needed to actually use her senses to feel everything, tasting pizza, hearing the loud sounds of a city. Like she needed to experience all of those things. Oh, and the way she experienced all those things, for those of you that are watching this, even though it's spoilerific, is they meet this guy that's on like a ship. There's lost souls, and he's able to bring them back to Earth. But it turns out that there's a little mistake. 22 soul goes into Joe's body, and Joe's soul goes into the body of a cat. So now the two of them are running around trying to get switched back, or to send 22 back so 22 can live back up at the youth seminar and Joe can go about his life. So that's lots of hijinks happen. We're not actually, according to the trailers, it looks like we're at the youth seminar for a long time, but in reality of the movie, we're not. Like I wasn't expecting to be down on Earth as long as we were when we first saw the movie, because the trailer just sort of highlights the youth seminar.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, you're actually on Earth more than you're pretty much anywhere else.
Right, which is how, because I think Joe's a main character, but I think 22 is more of a main character in this, because that's because both of them sort of learn about themselves through that experience. Joe learns that he is meant to mentor through mentoring 22 through real life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I kind of like the way they did the the other characters that were in, like the leaders that were down sort of as, I guess, abstract.
Oh, the Terry.
Yeah. all of the Jerrys.
Yeah, who's Terry? Terry was the slight antagonist.
Yeah. I like the way that they did those characters, the way that they were
abstract thoughts.
Yeah, just kind of there, but not really there.
Right, and I liked that this movie also didn't really have a clear antagonist, because this movie was full of. Let me put my teacher hat on. This movie is filled with internal conflict, as opposed to external conflicts.
Yeah.
Terry is one of the abstract forms that keeps count of all the souls, and he realizes the count's off, and that's when he realizes that Joe was actually supposed to die and go to the great beyond, but Joe didn't want to, which is how he got stuck in the youth seminar. We're bouncing all around, so that's okay.
Yes.
So he sort of when they go to Earth, he's sort of there trying to find them to bring them back, and so that's where he sort of comes in as that external conflict. But in reality, the conflict that needs to be resolved by the end is the internal conflicts between both of these two characters. And I'll stop being boring now. But Joe comes to realize that, because at the end, he realizes once he plays that show, because he does eventually get back into his body, 22 goes back, but he goes back and just realizes that he's not getting the joy he thought he would. He thought he'd feel a lot more through the music and through performing in front of people, but he didn't feel it. And he found that disappointing, and that's when he realized what he was truly meant to do. I liked how they sort of kept that vague at the end.
Yeah. He was still able to do what he thought was, his true passion, his true calling, to realize what his actual calling was or is.
Right. So he's still able. So he realizes that helping people get to point A from point B is more his. He gets more fulfillment out of that versus him just fulfilling his one passion. He's able to still do that along with doing this other thing that actually gives him a spark, as they say.
Yeah.
He does end up. So after that whole thing where he goes back, plays the show, 22 is in a very bad place. This is sort of the climax for 22, where 22 goes back, and since 22 technically lived, she ends up becoming a lost soul, which is when people become obsessed and have no real. They sort of get stuck in this bad loop, and they sort of become lost souls, and you have to try to break them of that. And that's what Joe has to go back and do. So he finds the guy on the ship, who in reality is actually a guy that spins those things on the corner and helps, and they end up help 22, and then 22 goes and is able to hopefully go live their life. And Joe gets a second chance, which was the other big thing. He goes back, but it turns out that the abstract thoughts give him another chance to live, because technically he was supposed to die. What did you think of them giving him a second chance? Do you think he deserved it?
Oh, of course he did, because it was because of they helped 22, that low number soul, figure out his meaning, and they were also able to get the other guy out of the way too, so they were able to
trick
him into realizing hey, I didn't lose anybody.
No, which was really funny. There are lots of really cute, funny parts in this movie, and I'm hoping, since Pixar sometimes revisits older characters in the shorts, it would be really cool to get a short. If Pixar ever watches this, here's my idea for a short. Have it be several years in the future, and 22 is now one of his students. And they're playing some type of instrument or something. That would be super cool to have a little short of a new student, and then Joe sort of realized, hey, you remind me of somebody. And then of course 22 won't know that, because they forget all of their time before. But then again, 22 is a special case, so they could remember, they couldn't remember. But yeah. I think that'd be a cool idea to have the characters reunite at some point. And for us that think Joe kept teaching and didn't go to music, because that's what both of us think, with that he actually went to teaching as opposed to continuing to tour with the jazz band. I think that would be a cool little way to close this story that is a little open-ended. Does end in a little way of an open ending. So, but yeah. And any final thoughts? We can start. I think we've talked this movie out, but
no, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think I do either.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was good. What would your rating be? Let's do out of 10. Well, our rating system would be out of 10.
No. I'm gonna say probably a 9.
I think I have to agree. I think I'll give it a 9 as well. It didn't it wasn't Inside Out and it wasn't Up. But it definitely is up there. If I had a top 5, it would make my top 5.
It did have a little slow start to it.
It did.
It had a little slow start, but once it did get going, it was really it really pulled you in. But it took a few minutes. The beginning was a little slow, but once it got going, it pulled you in.
And also because Joe's not exactly very likable at the beginning at all.
No,
that's why it feels a little slow. Because you're just like, God, this guy's selfish. Why do I have to like him? And then once 22 gets thrown in the mix, and then once they get to Earth, that's when things really start picking up. So if you're watching it and you're getting a little bored, stay with it until that moment, because things really start getting awesome after that point. But yeah, okay. So that is our review for Soul. We've given it a 9 out of 10. Next time, we are going to be watching a movie called Little Monsters. This movie is rated R, so if you're not allowed to watch rated R movies, don't watch the next review. But if you are, then go for it. It's a movie about teachers and kids fighting zombies, which just sounds totally up my alley. If you have any suggestions for movies you'd like us to watch, put them in the comments and we will see what we can do about watching those. Right now, we can't go to the theater because of, all those reasons, but hopefully we'll be doing some theater movies later on this year. Do you think you'll come back and do another video with me? I guess we're going to be calling you Mr. Jim or Miss Murray's dad, one of the two.
Whatever. It all
Okay.
worked. Yeah, I'll definitely be back.
Good.
If you'll have me back.
Of course I will. You're the only other person that really goes to the movies with me. So that works for me. Okay, guys, I will see you tomorrow for Book Talk Tuesday, and he will see you next time we do one of these reviews. Okay, see you later, guys. Bye.
Bye.